Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Weaver here in the Blue and Yellow Kitchen in San Diego, California, with Microwave Boy on the camera and Daisy on the floor. Hi everyone. Today I'm making Ina Garten's Perfect Roast Chicken from the Food Network's website. It was inspired by one of my favorite podcasters, Liz Dolan of the Satellite Sisters. She made this a couple weeks ago, and I'd never made Ina's recipe. I have made roast chicken many times, but I thought it might be fun to try it and kind of show you the whole process. So the oven has been preheated to 425. I've got my just under 5-pound chicken here in the roasting pan, which I did. Always recommend, if you haven't used a pan in a while, make sure it's clean. So that's always good. I'm just going to use my kitchen shears to debag the chicken. And then I'm doing this in the roasting pan because it's probably going to lose some liquid. And I'd rather that just end up in the pan versus on the counter or on a cutting board that I then have to clean. So that's one of my little tricks right there for you, is that. And I've got the bag that the chicken was living in right here, so I'm going to put that stuff in there. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to remove, if there's one of these little pads that absorbs the liquid from the chicken, and then we're going to look and see if there's any giblets inside. Now sometimes there are and sometimes there are not. The giblets are the liver and the neck and some other pieces, sometimes the heart. This is giblet free. There are some feathers on the end of this chicken. These are called pin feathers, so I'm going to remove those. Thank you, Mr. Bird, for providing me a meal for us. We appreciate it. And then sometimes people aren't always 100% sure which is the top and which is the bottom of the chicken. So the backbone, spine, runs along the back. So you can see that spine there. And so that's the breast. So you're going to cook it breast side up. So just in case you were wondering, that's the story with that. So what we want to do is we want to have, so there's no giblets, so we don't need to reserve those. If I had giblets, they were going to go in what we lovingly call the bone bag, which lives in the freezer and takes all of our cooked bones, leek tops, scallion tops, all that good stuff goes into the bone bag, which makes delicious, delicious chicken broth. And so when this chicken has been eaten, the rest of the carcass will end up in the bone bag, so that way we'll get basically all of the goodness from this chicken that sacrificed its life for us. We want to be very respectful of that. And your next step with chicken is you want it to be super dry in order to get a crispy skin. So I'm going to use a bunch of paper towels. Now some people will tell you, I've actually never done this, but to dry the chicken off. Actually, I think her instructions say to wash it. That is no longer considered acceptable bird handling practices because you splash chicken juice, raw chicken juice all over everything. So we don't recommend that anymore. So what we want to do is just get it really dry. Now you can, if you have room in your fridge, which I do not, set it on a plate overnight in the fridge, and then the skin gets really dried out. That's what you want because that makes a really crispy skin. We're not doing that. There's no room in my fridge. So we're just going to get it nice and dry.
So it's not covered when it's sitting in the fridge?
Correct. If you follow that instruction, it's not covered. And I do have to wash my hands because, food safety. So, yeah. All right, so we've got our chicken. And what is going on the chicken is, first we're going to put stuff in the chicken. So what goes in the chicken is some thyme. So all this stuff was prepped last night. So we've got thyme very lucky to have thyme in our garden.
And why is it in the towel?
Oh, so I wash it and then I store it in the towel so it doesn't get funky, because herbs like to be
So the towel
it
draws
absorbs,
the water,
it draws the water out.
and the whole thing goes in the fridge.
Whole thing goes in the fridge in a plastic bag. So what's going inside the chicken is a lemon cut in half and an entire head of garlic cut in half. So I'm going to do that first. So this is a head of garlic. Okay, the individual things are cloves. So this is for flavoring. Okay, it's a little tricky, I don't wanna, all right, so what's gonna happen is, it's gonna kind of fall apart, right? The bottom part of the bulb is gonna stick together, and then the rest of these are gonna fall apart. So you're sticking those inside for flavor. I am going to pull them out at the end because you can enjoy that delicious roasted garlic, like spread on toast. Okay, thyme's going in there, and then I don't even know if this whole lemon, I guess the lemon will fit in there. Lemon from the yard, we're very lucky again to have that as well, okay? And then more paper towels, because I'm trying to be very clean about this. And we're gonna tie the legs together with a little bit of kitchen string. If you don't have kitchen string, it's really not a big deal. I think when Liz made this, she asked the butcher for a little bit of string because she didn't want to buy a package of string and then never use it again, which is smart. Butchers are happy to do stuff like that for you. So essentially, and then they say tuck the wings under the bird, the wingtips under the bird. So that just looks like that. It's not the easiest thing to do. They may not stay. It's okay if they don't. I don't know if you're supposed to like actually kind of, oh, maybe they go that way. Okay, I guess they go like that. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, you can tell I don't do this very often. Okay, so, and then what salt and pepper and butter is going on this chicken. So I'm gonna do that last because I'm gonna put the veggies in next, so I'm gonna wash my hands again. Sorry to step away. But you really wanna be very clean when you're handling raw chicken. And I don't normally run through this many paper towels either, but that is the way it goes. Okay, so all that's in this pan right now is the chicken juice, which is totally fine. I'm gonna throw some olive oil in here, and then I'm gonna put my vegetables. So we got, this is way more vegetables than Ina calls for. The reason for that is if I'm bothering to roast a chicken, I'm gonna roast a lot of vegetables so that I have a whole bunch of roasted vegetables to do. So this was 6 carrots and an entire sweet potato, which is not part of her recipe, and then I think it's basically a whole thing of celery.
Now, why is this in a bag now?
Well, this is because they were prepped last night, so they're just have been refrigerated. And then I've got some regular potatoes. So I'm using the celery instead of Ina. What Ina calls for is fennel, which I completely forgot to buy at the store. So celery is similar to fennel in terms of kind of flavor and texture of the vegetable, but it will, because this is roasting for an hour and a half, I cut it in pretty big pieces because celery has a lot of water in it and I don't want it to get so small that it starts to burn. So celery in there. Got a few of these nice organic gold potatoes. Most of them are pretty small, and so the ones that are not that size I am cutting to be about that size so that everything is pretty uniform. So this guy is going to probably get quartered just so he or she is cooking at the same rate. And then we've got a sliced onion. Okay, so that was just all last night's prep. Then the rest of the time, so I'm going to throw a little bit more olive oil on top of this. I'm going to do my pepper.
That seems like a lot. I mean, does it?
Right, so this is probably going to be...
It doesn't have to be lay shallow then.
Right, the chicken's going to sit right on top of it. And it is a lot of vegetables, but it is also baking for an hour and a half. So I feel like if I'm going to bother to make a roast chicken and vegetables, I want a lot, because the vegetables end up with all this yummy chicken juice on them, and they're just so delicious, so I want to have a lot of them. This is also a big roasting pan too, so there's plenty of room for it. I'm going to throw the rest of my thyme sprigs across the top. Those will just kind of cook down. We'll pull the sprigs off at the end, the little stems essentially. All right, and then the last little bits of those leaves, okay? And then our chicken is gonna go on top. So I think for the least messy way to do this, I'm gonna slide it off the plate. There we go. Okay. And then I didn't have to touch it again, which is good. And I've got, she calls for 2 tablespoons of melted butter. It might be a little less than that. I'm gonna brush that on. Now, I normally would probably just use olive oil, but I am trying to follow her recipe. I did not use anywhere near the salt and pepper she calls for. That's because I'm on a low sodium diet, so if you're not on a low sodium diet, go for it. But I am, so that is one place that I will add salt at the table. But meat has a fair bit of sodium just in the meat. So especially if you're used to lower sodium, you really find that you don't need it as much. But I'm sure this butter is going to make the skin just super crispy and tasty. And then I'm going to try to get all that butter off there. Now see what, the reason I did this in this order, normally I might even massage the stuff in, but I don't want to get chicken juice all over my salt and pepper. So I'm going to do a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper on top of everything, including the chicken, and then that's it. It's going in the oven for an hour and a half. So very exciting, 425, and then we'll see you momentarily on the video and you'll see what it looks like. So I'm back with my beautiful roast chicken, Ina Garten's roast chicken, and it's been in there for an hour and a half. So most of you probably don't have an instant read meat thermometer, but I'm gonna show you basically what we're looking for with that. If you have that, which I want to make sure. So poultry, you want to get to 165 internal temperature. It has been sitting out for, I don't know, 5 minutes maybe, so I just want to make sure. Now it's only saying 150. I mean, it's very beautifully browned and everything. Let me just take a look. For years I did not have, okay, so that's saying 173. Question is the breast cooked enough? Because you do want to make sure. Okay, now it's saying 167. So I think we're okay. But let's assume you don't have a meat thermometer, as I did not for many years. So I'm going to show you kind of a little trick. If you can do that, the chicken's good. I was going to say loosen it and see if the juices run clear. But generally speaking, now that does look a little bit, I'm going to put this back in for a few minutes. I don't know if you can see that. That looks a little bit pinker than I like to see. Now, a lot of these chickens are very young, they're raised quickly, so sometimes you do still get that that very pink look, but that just does not look, yeah, that's not completely cooked. So I'm going to put it in for about 10 more minutes. I also want to check, so all my vegetables are roasted, so they're all fork tender, which is what you're looking for. And so, but I'm going to give this another 10 just to make sure it's completely cooked. So I left the oven on, but you can see how beautiful it is. And of course I should have taken a picture of it before I took it apart. That was dumb. I don't even think I can fake that now. Oh well. Anyway, but that's the beautiful chicken, and I'm excited to show you the last hurrah of all this bulk cooking. But this will be a yummy dinner for us for quite a few days. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stephanie Weaver. Follow me, S Weaver MPH. Bye.